Right now, there's a Rookie of the Year candidate in the NBA that nobody is talking about, and he's right in front of us. He leads all rookies in total minutes played. He's 7th amongst rookies in assists, 4th in total field goals made. Across the entire NBA, he's 8th in three-pointers attempted. That's more than Klay Thompson. That's more than Trae Young. That's more than Damian Lillard. And he's making 37% of his threes, but nobody is talking about Jordan Hawkins right now. He was the 14th overall pick in the draft. Jordan Hawkins was seen as a shooting specialist by a lot of people, and that was all he was going to be at the NBA level. But right now, he's turning into something way more than that. Now, when you're talking about a shooting specialist, this is Jordan Hawkins right here. There's like 30 or 40 role players in the NBA that can do what Hawkins does here. Brandon Ingram is going to create this advantage in the middle of the lane. Hawkins is going to space off the ball, and he's going to make the shot. This is certainly a valuable skill set. Everybody wants spacing, but it's not necessarily a unique one amongst role players. And again, these are pretty normal plays for shooting specialists. CJ McCollum's over here with the ball. He's going to create an advantage by getting towards the baseline. Hawkins is going to relocate after Zion cuts to the rim, and he's going to get an open look. This is why Hawkins was the 14th pick in the draft, because he can shoot, and most people thought that was all he could do. And to be one of these guys and make a ton of money in the NBA, you have to be one of the best shooters in the entire league, and Hawkins could be that and a lot more. Because these kinds of plays right here, this is what separates, this is what differentiates players from just being shooting specialists and being legit weapons on offense that you can use, that you can give possessions to every single game. This kind of action, when you have a player as good of a shooter as Jordan Hawkins, is so threatening to the defense. He comes up here, he could set this screen, and then Zion's going to get an open lane to the rim if you don't guard it correctly. He could slip it and pop out here and get an open look, or what ends up happening is he does slip it, Larry Nance sets this screen here, and all of a sudden he relocates to the corner and gets a wide open look. And it's hard to even explain just how much more difficult these kinds of attempts and this kind of creation is in comparison to the first couple clips I showed you in the video. This is a differentiator between just a shooter and a weapon on offense. This is Hawkins here taking the ball out of bounds. And you want to know when teams really start to value their guys, especially as rookies? When we're running plays for you out of bounds with a minute left in the game. Dyson Daniels is going to come get the ball here. Cody Zeller is going to come up and set a screen for him, but really he's just going to slip it and come and get Jordan Hawkins' man, who's going to get a wide open look at a three. You don't run these kinds of plays for the Royce O'Neals, the Jay Crowders of the world. You run this for players that the defense actually has to worry about, not just someone they have to account for as a shooter, but someone that you have to know where they are at all times. This is Hawkins right here, and as I run this, just think about how much pressure this action puts on the defense. Rather than him just standing in the corner, we're going to set a screen in the middle of the floor, then we're going to get ourselves a screen, get an open look, and it's not honestly not even that open. Like, this is still a tough shot, but he's that good of a shooter, and that's why he gets this kind of stuff run for him. Like, yeah, they could just have JV in the post, and he could, try and work something in the post. They have someone cut to the middle of the floor, and Jordan Hawkins could be over here. He could just be spacing in the corner. It's what a lot of role players do. But Jordan Hawkins is not a role player. He is a high-level shooter already at the NBA level. I really just love everything about the way that the Pelicans use him offensively, because you can see so many other things you can get out of these kinds of plays, because the personnel on the Pelicans works really well with what Jordan Hawkins brings as well. This is Zion right here. We're going to have this guy go to the rim, and then Hawkins is going to come off a dribble handoff. And yeah, the Mavs screw this up and they play underneath it. But if they played over it, if they start overplaying over the top of Jordan Hawkins, because you don't want him to get this open of a look, let's just say that the defender had played on the high side right here. Well, all of a sudden we've got Zion with a full head of steam getting to the rim. Maybe you have to commit an extra guy, and these kinds of players work so well off the Jordan Hawkinses of the world. Now, this might seem a little bit strange, but Jordan Hawkins gives me Duncan Robinson vibes, but like in an even better way. Because when Duncan Robinson was really good, when he has his really good moments with Miami, it's a lot of the same stuff. Dribble handoffs, we're coming off screens. Everything is about getting him open and he's moving off the ball. And I think Hawkins is going to be even better than Duncan Robinson, but that's the kind of level of offensive threat. Someone that you can give possessions to, someone that can create offense for you, not as an on-ball guy, not getting to the rim, but because of the spacing and the threat that they are to a defense. This is Hawkins right here, and there's already so many little tricks that he's using to help get himself open, because right here it looks like, oh, we're just going to run a dribble handoff, and then Brandon Ingram's going to come get the ball and score, trot, boom, immediately goes back the other direction. Here comes Cody Zeller, and we're going to get an open Jordan Hawkins jumper. This doesn't really seem like all that much, but again, it's about differentiating yourself. It's not about just being a role player. It's about providing more to the offense, and as a rookie to trust him this much is crazy. We've got Hawkins here on this side of the screen. JV's up here. He's going to get the ball. And part of the threat of these kinds of guys, like I talked about with Duncan Robinson, is getting dribble handoffs and working off that. We're going to show some pull-up twos later that work off of that. And we're already seeing a pretty high-level understanding. I love that right there. That little bit of movement, that little bit of IQ of understanding that they overplayed on the handoff, because they probably run 20 of these handoffs a game for Jordan Hawkins. And just that little stop, start, backdoor, nope, just kidding, three in your face. This right here is Hawkins. And another thing I think the Pelicans are going to start using more, especially when they've got Zion, they've got JV, when they've got their big guys on the floor, they're going to use Hawkins in a lot of these screening actions that involve Zion, JV, these bigger players. Because when you're this good of a shooter, one of the only ways that you can really guard this stuff effectively is by doing what Houston does here. They switch it. They switch Van Fleet, and Hawkins is going to make this jumper. But you can see that they're super concerned about giving up an open layup at the rim, or as they do, giving up an open jumper at the top here. And so they're staying right here to switch. It screws up all their defensive coverages. And if they do switch this and Hawkins doesn't get open, like Hawkins catches it here, let's just say that he's not open, all of a sudden, we've got a small matchup for Zion. We could potentially, if we ran the screening action different, have a smaller player guarding JV. And at that point, you have to pick giving up an open jumper to one of the better rookie shooters in the league, or having a guard playing either Zion or JV in the post if you want to try and switch it. This is Hawkins right here. He's just gonna kind of chill down here and then all of a sudden cut to the corner. And I just love how many plays they're running for him, how much they're prioritizing him. Obviously, they've had injury issues. He's had to play more than they probably thought, but to already see this much prioritization is super exciting. It shows that they have confidence, they have faith in him, that he's going to be a central piece of what they're doing. And that's so cool to see already. And this is another example of what I was talking about earlier with the switching. This is Hawkins right here, and he's just gonna come up to the top. It's not something super complicated. We got a Cody Zeller screen here, and it's gonna go into a down screen here. It's not that complicated, but the miscommunication between these two guys that have to switch this, you don't give him an open jumper, opens up easy stuff. And a lot of NBA teams love to switch like this, but when you're doing that, it can easily lead to open jumpers like this, or like we talked about earlier, mismatches for guys like JV and Zion in the post. We got Hawkins here at the bottom of the screen, and having this much of an identifiable skill set, we're gonna run a dribble handoff here, JV is gonna hand it off. Having this much of a skill set already allows you to start building things around what he does well, which for New Orleans is a ton of these dribble handoffs we've been talking about throughout the video. This is so difficult to guard. Again, going back to the Duncan Robinson example, there's not much you can do here. This guy that's guarding Hawkins gets caught up a little bit, goes under, gives up an open look, but even if he plays it well and is playing on the high side, Şengün has to help. JV can get to the rim, or they have to switch this, which again can cause miscommunication and give them a bucket, or they can get a good matchup on JV. A lot of teams around the league run a ton of dribble handoff action because it's so difficult to stop. And it's made that much more difficult by movement shooters like Jordan Hawkins. Like, you tell me how you're supposed to guard this. We got Hawkins here. He's going to get to the middle of the lane. Zion's going to get kind of a little bit of a brush screen here from Larry Nance, and then Hawkins is going to set a back screen and pop up to the top. As we let the play run, I'm going to pause it here again in a second. In this moment, if Zion is a little bit more aggressive than with this and starts getting downhill, you tell me how you're supposed to guard this. We got a big and Walker Kessler guarding Zion. We've got Larry Nance as a lob threat. Zion can attack the rim and create a foul, which means that this guy has to stay and help, which means that he can't go up here and guard Jordan Hawkins, which again means that you kind of have to switch. Kelly Olynyk has to come up and guard Jordan Hawkins. Larry Nance has to get this guy switched onto him. And while all of this is happening, you've got one of the best drivers in the league with a potential open lane of the rim. And of course, as is the theme of the video, Jordan Hawkins ends up with an open three. The reason he ends up with an open three is because they don't switch this, but there's just so much stress created by, yes, Zion and the lob threat, but also having a shooter like this that isn't just standing in the corner and is creating stuff for him and others. We've got Hawkins right here, and this clip, this might be my favorite clip of the entire video. This is just out of control movement by this guy in terms of he's always set. No matter what he's doing, no matter how much he's running around, no matter how much space he's creating, no matter what his acceleration looks like, he's always set. He's always ready to go. It's one of the purest jump shot forms in the league. And it's not even comparable, the difficulty level of just shooting an open corner three and shooting these kinds of open shots. Like, yes, this is technically open, but the amount of stuff you have to do beforehand to get to here to create this open shot, the difficulty level is like a 9.5 out of 10. Like, yeah, you can look at the stats and say, oh, he takes a ton of threes. He makes a ton of threes. That's cool. He's a good shooter. But this is a completely different level. And what it can lead to, we've got Jordan Hawkins over here in the corner. What it can lead to is you can start to build stuff off of this skill set. You can start to grow and improve and know exactly what you need to get better at. Oh, we're going to get into a dribble handoff. You're going to play on the top side. Boom, there's a pull-up jumper for you. He's obviously a good enough shooter to be able to shoot these off of pull-ups. And if you can add this to your game and maybe get to the rim, get a little bit stronger, get better as a passer, good luck. This is a kind of guy that as he continues to grow and improve because he's still so young, he's going to be someone that you can give a ton of possessions to and get good offense from. And also, shout out to the Pelicans coaching staff. It's not just, hey, here's CJ McCollum, going to come down the floor, set a ball screen, then we're going to attack, and we're going to look to kick it out to shooters. We're going to go to a handoff here. This guy is going to swing it to the opposite side of the floor. CJ is going to bring it down. JV is going to act like he's going to set this screen to give them that threat. Instead, he's going to catch it right here. CJ McCollum's going to clear, and then we're going to have Jordan Hawkins come up on this dribble handoff and get to an open shot. Having good players allows you to have more creativity on offense, but you also need to actually implement it, and I love this kind of stuff. And again, it's something you're only going to see Hawkins get better at throughout his career. Like, there's just so much talent here. There's so much to build off with this guy, and he really needs to be talked about more within this Rookie of the Year race and as one of the better players that we've seen so far out of the 2023 draft class.